So, the force is with us today. I'll develop that thought to the next point. I think this is a good opportunity since we've got some underpinnings here. It's a nice opportunity to see what do we do with that insight. All right, the Burton insight that there is this intrinsic. There's probably something, one of those little interestingly named parts of the brain that's also probably intimately involved, like the striatum that's involved with the obsessive compulsive disorder. There's probably some part of us that just is almost rigged to start obsessively believing certain things. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if obsessive belief, forming fixed beliefs, isn't somehow connected with the pleasure mechanism. Maybe the pleasure mechanism in some cases and the displeasure mechanism, the aversion mechanism. Maybe if you experience fixing a belief somehow, and it's going to be connected to either extreme pleasure or extreme displeasure. It's going to connect to something. If there's enough of sort of the pleasure of having something revealed to you or the displeasure of having something revealed to you, maybe that switches something like the striatum. Just all of a sudden its cells start rewiring in there madly, and that belief just fixes. It just becomes like stamped into long-term memory through long-term potentiation, and that just becomes your go-to place. And then it becomes the place that you are just compelled. You are absolutely compulsively driven to go to that fixed spot of what you think is the truth. And typically people get like these total truth things going about stuff that they don't have a heck of a lot of either direct personal experience, sensory specific experience, or a real clear framework. They get these things into their head typically at an early age, or they have some epiphany, and bang, there's just this thing. So what are we going to do as expert nulpers, as NLP people that earn our keep by having really superior chops? I'm going to borrow something from Carmen Bostic, because I think this is a point she raises repeatedly and firmly. And bravo, Carmen, keep doing this. If you're watching this at some point, I totally applaud this way of thinking. So how do we inoculate ourselves? How do we protect ourselves against forming premature conclusions and involving in something that psychologists refer to as rushing to structure? It seems to be a major problem in organizations where there's insufficient data, or people are given not enough time, or they just have no patience for thinking things through, and there's just this groupthink thing of rushing to structure. Well, it's really useful to know if you're rushing to structure, if there's a rush to structure, if there's another term that's used a lot in psychology is premature closure. Somebody gets one bit of information, or somebody gets one little point of truthiness or something, and I think a lot of the media these days basically feeds off that dynamic. It provides these sort of very partial, very edited, out of context information with the full understanding that people will tend to grab that, run with it, and rush to structure. They will experience premature closure. So if we know that the brain has a lot of tendency to premature closure, we've got to find some way to outsmart ourselves, outsmart our tendencies to zoom in too quickly and then get stuck in a set of premises that is hard to change later on. So how are we going to do that? That will be the topic of my next little talk here.